Anime still didn't have its identity in Japan, even with specials airing on TV, hell, even some animated films, because it didn't seem like it was unique enough to be called its own thing. But thanks to one man's dream of animating his modern and cute characters, anime started to bloom into a new art form.
And the anime that started it all was Astro Boy!
Ah, Astro Boy. Just the name of this show brings back a nostalgia feel. The show was adapted from a manga called Mighty Atom that was created by Osamu Tezuka, who is also known as the god of manga for revolutionizing Japanese comics, and can be considered the god of anime because of Astro Boy being the embodiment of anime as well as for being the first on TV.
Even though I kinda debunked that in my first video.
Instant History is the first anime series on TV, but it had a mix of anime and live action and was only 3 to 5 minutes per episode, while Astro Boy was fully animated and had a full run within a 30-minute time frame. This of course set the standard for future anime TV series, which is probably why a lot of people think that it pioneered anime series in the future. And that is understandable as it had a huge impact with the mainstream audiences in both Japan and US.
And maybe you don't know this, but your parents were probably into anime before you were.
If you ask your parents if they've seen Astro Boy or these other ones like Gigantor, Speed Racer, and Kim with the White Lion, then they've seen anime, they just probably didn't know it. It's kind of like me and other kids who grew up in the 90s who watched Dragon Ball Z, Gundam, Pokemon, and many others. We all probably thought they were just unique cartoons and didn't realize they came from Japan.
And who do we have to thank for that? Well, none other than Fred Ladd.
Fred Ladd was an NBC representative and a close friend to Tezuka. Tezuka envisioned the idea to him, and then Fred helped with the repackaging and dubbing to English for American audiences. So just like Tezuka revolutionized anime and manga, it can be said that Fred started the embodiment of English dub on anime. So, does this anime live up to all the hype that brought the joy of many people of US and Japan, and the cornerstone of anime in general?
Well, let's begin this adventure by looking at the production.
So of course, Astro Boy, or Mighty Atom, or Tetsuwan Atom, was directed by Dr. Tezuka himself. Seriously, he has a medical degree. And it was also created in his own animation studio called Mushi Production. And to keep up with the series trend at first, Mushi Production was the first anime studio for television anime. It was then broadcasted on Fuji TV during the new year on January 1st, 1963, and lasted till December 31st, 1966. During the run of Astro Boy, it started to surpass the manga, so Tezuka had to come up with original ideas for new episodes. As for the English version, NBC Enterprise and Fred Ladd were the ones who came up with the name of Astro Boy. I guess just to please the kids with a catchy name, but also it could be that the name had some similarity to another American cartoon hero called Mighty Mouse, which, oddly enough, Tezuka used as another basis for Astro Boy. Now, the English broadcast was on WNBC and began on September 7th, 1963, and lasted till August 20th, 1965. And closer to the end, had some repeating episodes of the series. Ever since it started, it turned into a huge hit by having some of the highest show ratings of all time in both countries.
I'm such a sucker, I got the entire collection edition with every single episode. Even though technically they don't have all the episodes.
You see, the total amount of this collection is 104 episodes, which is the complete set for the English version. But the total amount is 193 episodes, which all of them did air in Japan. Now, originally, I thought that the missing episodes were damaged and couldn't be packaged to the US to air or be converted to home media. Which in a way is true, as the beginning of each disc you put in states it with a little intro. But there is a bit more meaning to it. After the first season of 52 episodes, consumers of anti-violence weren't a fan of Astro Boy's cartoon violence, having a more rough approach, and some episodes having some depressing moments, saying that it would negatively affect the mainstream audience. Sadly, because of this led to a big back and forth fight with Fred Ladd flying to Japan to try and talk to Tezuka and the production of restricting some of the episodes. Tezuka, of course, wasn't happy with the NBC's decision, even calling it a bit hypocritical, as some of their examples seemed to contradict with other cartoons or shows that aired in the US. He has a point if you consider slapstick comedy that Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, and Disney had. In fact, let's look at some examples, shall we?
Anyone for tennis? Nice game. A penalty?
So Fred had to do some re-editing and script changing to make Astro Boy acceptable to NBC. Then in 1964, NBC wouldn't want any more episodes and would repeat the series. This is odd because many Americans were still into the series, but they say the public could not remember 104 episodes, and that once you reach 104, you would want to see the first one again.
No, I would actually like to see Astro Boy in all of his adventures in glory. NBC, you don't know me at all.
This also upsets Mushi's studio as they did not understand that decision, but it's quite possible that the violence and complex stories it had was really the main reason. How is it that this series is more mature than NBC? This ended up hurting both Tezuka and Fred, as Tezuka couldn't show all episodes with American viewers and not fully realizing his work, and Fred suffered from fatigue going back and forth between countries and making major changes. But oddly enough, this didn't bring them both down. They still made deals, worked together to bring anime into the US, and learned that thanks to experiences with Astro Boy, they were able to work on newer projects.
Phew, that was a lot of history to teach. And yet we're not quite done. So let's move on to the fun adventure, and that's the anime itself.
Let's start with the theme songs. In Japan, the opening is called Mighty Atom Opening Theme, and has 3 different versions: the instrumental, the chorus, and one featuring Astro Girl. Man, the opening theme sounds like it could be a marching band song. Same thing with the Mighty Atom ending theme, but only has the instrumental and Astro Girl. And the English version called, of course, Astro Boy Opening Theme, which only has one version that includes singing from a chorus.
There you go, Astro Boy, on your flight into space, rocking high through the sky, for adventures soon you will make.
Part of me thinks that they brought in Boy Scouts to sing, since Astro Boy, like the Scouts, do their job to help people. Astro Boy is the ultimate Boy Scout. And the Astro Boy ending theme features mostly the instrumental, with a little singing closer to the end. As for characters, well, Tezuka calls them his star system characters, as he would use them again in his other works and possibly change their roles. It's kind of funny that he treats his characters as actors. The famous ones are, of course, Adam himself, Dr. Tenma his creator, Adam's parents, Uran, Higeo Yaji, or Shunsaku Ban, and Professor Ochanomizu, head of Ministry of Science. But of course, in the English version, these names would be hard to understand, especially for kids. So Fred probably had to change their names to make them catchy, easy, and would fit the character by personalities or their designs. So of course, Adam changed to Astro Boy, Tenma into Boynton, the parents and Uran were simple, just to Mama, Papa, and Astro Girl. Bon became Mr. Pompous. Oh, don't let that name fool you, because nobody messes with Mr. Pompous. And finally, the granddaddy of them all, Dr. Pachydermis J. Elephant. Gee, I wonder why he called them that. As for episodes, they are a bit episodic, as you can almost play them in any order. But some episodes introduce new characters, either human or robot, so you do need to watch certain episodes in order. Honestly, I am surprised that the English version was able to still make a flowing story considering all the changes.
So since my previous video had very little information to talk about, why don't I review a few episodes so I can make up for it? So let's start episode 1, The Birth of Astro Boy.
So we start off this adventure. Well, I'll let the narrator take it from here.
In the year 2000, there was no Astro Boy. There was a real boy named Astor Boynton. One day, he was racing his aero car at supersonic speed on the world's safest road, Electronic Highway 66. No need for Astor to steer, speed up, or slow down. The highway controlled his car automatically. All Astor had to do was press a button. The road did the rest. Yes, this was the highway of the future, safe as man could make it.
Boy, we are really falling behind considering we haven't solved our traffic jams yet. So that means everything should be safe for our young protagonist, right? Okay, maybe not.
Oh, my son! My poor boy.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist.
So, after the loss of his son, Dr. Boynton goes mad and talks to the air scientist that he wants to make the perfect robot boy. So, they all come together and get started on the construction.
Okay, I admit, I got caught off guard.
Don't get the wrong idea, I mean, we've seen over-the-top comedy in anime before, even in action-packed ones too, but for some reason, I didn't think it would be, well, for lack of a better word, cartoony. Then again, this could be Tezuka's style of using classic comedy, and hey, I won't complain. I love the classics. So after the assembly is complete, Dr. Boynton proves more how much of a mad scientist he is by starting up Astro Boy like this. I mean, who wouldn't start up a boy robot with a system that uses Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 as its startup? I mean, it's a mixture of music and science, and it's so genius, it's mad. So, Astro Boy wakes up, and they start to live a life of father and son. But after a while, Dr. Boynton realizes that he isn't growing up like a normal boy.
I've been a good father to you, haven't I? Well then, why can't you be a good son to me and grow up to be a normal human child like all the other children around here your same age? I tell you, son, that I am unable to understand how, after years of developing into a mental giant, you have failed to grow as much as a single solitary inch.
Well, of course it didn't work. You had to make a wish on the wishing star, wish to make Astro Boy into a real boy, he has to prove himself brave, truthful, and unselfish, and then he becomes a real boy. Come on, learn your Disney basics!
Disappointed in Astro Boy, Dr. Boynton sold him off to a robot circus trainer called Kachitori and forced him to perform to entertain the guests. Wow, this series really does have some references to Pinocchio. I guess that's why they call him a mixture of Pinocchio and Superman, or Pinocchio of the 21st century.
I wonder if it was also true that he was trying to compete with a Pinocchio in outer space cartoon.
During the performance, Astro Boy is forced to fight a robot, and by lucky coincidence, Dr. Elephant is there and storms on stage about to unleash his scientific fury.
Stop this at once. This is a cruel, cruel thing you're doing, and right in the public eye, it's a disgrace. Remember, robots are living things too. Why, it's just like ancient Rome with gladiators. Shoot!
You know, I really enjoy this character. With his fast-talking, unpredictable movement, and his iconic feature that is probably the source of all of his scientific knowledge. It's just funny to me.
Dr. Elephant is forced to leave, and later Astro Boy starts to realize his powers in order to attack the opposing robot, but doesn't have the heart to finish it. Which makes Kachitori mad! After that, Dr. Elephant arrives again and tries to persuade Kachitori to give Astro Boy to him because he believes that Astro Boy can do so much more, but of course, he denies him. Also, Astro Boy meets with other robots who Kachitori thinks are worthless, but of course, Astro Boy helps them out by giving them some of his power to prove him wrong.
I'll just connect my power cord to your socket and... Oh, where is it? On my hip, but I feel a trifle silly. I'm ticklish.
Later, the circus starts up again, as we see more of Tezuka-style robots. But of course, something goes wrong with one of the tricks and the circus burns down, which makes Astro Boy and the other robots prove they are not worthless by saving people as more comedy ensues. They soon realize that Kachitori is still in the burning wreckage, so Astro Boy goes in himself, discovering more of what he can do, and he saves his life. So everyone is safe, and Dr. Elephant tries to convince Kachitori again to give Astro Boy. Kachitori declines again, but it turns out during this time, robots now have rights the same as humans, and will be treated equally, and now Kachitori can't force robots to perform it. So, Kachitori had no choice to give in, and now Astro Boy helps out Dr. Elephant and the Ministry of Science while also going on his own adventures. As we start with his first one in the next episode called Colossal, we begin knowing more about the robots in this world, and, well, take it away, narrator.
Robots so lifelike, they looked almost human. What a person could do, a robot could do nearly as well. Sometimes better. Robots were mass-produced. Most were made in the same mold. They looked exactly like thousands that had gone before, and like thousands yet to come. In time, robots were made so quickly that there was a shortage of workers to handle them.
From now on, robots will make robots.
After that, Astro Boy gets a dream of not having parents, and talks to Dr. Elephant about it. He understands, and decides to make him his very own parents. Also during that time, robots constructed another robot, which oddly enough originally was called Dr. Frankenstein, but in English they changed it to Colossal. It probably had some copyright issues, or they just changed it to make it catchy again. But after a short circuit, he awakens in a pretty comedic style.
Oh, this series never disappoints me in making me laugh.
He awakens in an incomplete state as he is missing his electronic brain. And in that mindless state, he causes destruction to the Ministry and walks around aimlessly, until he meets up with a mob group and starts to follow the commands of one of the members called Monk. Again, don't you just love these names? He is shown to the big boss, and starts to use him in more heists. These heists result in stealing the goods and getting Astro Boy framed every time, until finally it results into a trial.
To this guilt, no other robot was at the scene of the crime at the time of the theft. One of the guards identified him as the one who took the pink diamond and all the other jewels beyond the shadow of a doubt.
But I'm not the one who stole those jewels.
Then why were you at the scene of the crime?
I was looking for Colossal.
A likely story.
Yes, Dr. Elephant, save this trial!
I've never heard of such nonsense in a court of law. If Astro Boy's guilty, so is the judge. While we hold Astro Boy here, the real criminal goes scot-free.
So after that mumbling trial, he is found innocent, but now there is a halt on all robot production. Back in the Ministry, they had to find a way to capture Colossal, otherwise they can't finish constructing Astro Boy's parents. So they plan to lure him out and catch him in the act. Dr. Elephant decides to be the bait, and once Colossal is out, Dr. Elephant will call Astro Boy. It goes according to plan as Astro Boy comes to deliver some payback.
Whoa, wait a minute! Can we go back for a second? I think that was supposed to be the last part, because I think he killed him.
This is probably what NBC meant on Rough Violence, because there is quite a couple in this series. There was even one scene cut out where Colossal had some torture tools in his fingers and uses them to attack Astro Boy's eyes. Though he is metal, so I doubt it would work. Also in some episodes, there are some minor characters that actually die. But the deaths are more toned down, and as for the violence, it really is just another form of slapstick. Also, I have to give credit to Tezuka for adding some mature themes to Astro Boy. It does make this anime more realistic and challenging to viewers. After the battle, Colossal is hurt pretty badly, and Monk, who grew attached to him, pleads to Astro Boy to fix him. But the big boss in the mob comes to stop Astro Boy. Bad idea, as he takes him out in no time at all. One of the Ministry scientists comes and gives repairs as well as his electronic brain to make him more in control. So, the mob is arrested, Astro Boy is innocent, Colossal goes to the moon. Okay. And finally, Astro Boy gets the parents he always wanted. And that brings this adventure to a close.
Now I'm going to skip to episode 4 called The Sphinx, because I feel like that has more to talk about. And besides, like I said, these episodes are episodic, so I'm pretty sure we're not going to miss much.
Power. I'm drained of power. I can hardly move. How did I get here? I don't remember.
Okay, maybe we did need to see that episode after all. Oh, no, wait, this might help.
Until last night, I was home with Mother. It was getting late, and I was tired. My Energizer was fully charged. I remember checking the voltage meter just before falling asleep. And now... Scat! Shoo! Go away!
Nope.
Okay, I had some theories on this episode. One, and listen carefully because it could get confusing, is that there is an episode in between the third episode called Expedition to Mars and fourth episode Sphinx. So technically the fourth would be the fifth. Now, I thought it was a Japan-only episode, but it turns out that episode is episode 14 called 1 Million Mammoth Snails. So why did NBC decide to change the air date for that episode and make that snail episode 14th instead of the 4th? But it turns out that episode proved me wrong. As you can tell from the title, it's about giant snails attacking the city and Astro Boy saves the day, leading no tie-in to the next episode, Sphinx.
And my second theory is, this is what happens when he sleepwalks.
But it turns out it will be explained later. As Astro Boy is struggling to move, he meets up with...
Oh, me? I am the great Alibaba.
Alibaba of the 21st century! Boy, Tezuka likes to bring fictional or literary characters into the 21st century. I guess that's considered a trope of his. Since we get Astro Boy as Pinocchio, Alibaba in this episode, and in a later episode, we even get Sherlock Holmes.
I wonder if this will be the prequel to the 22nd century version of Holmes.
Anyway, Alibaba agrees to help Astro Boy in exchange for helping him out. So they travel to his village until they are attacked by the robotic Sphinx. Astro Boy then moves into the attack. After the warning from the Sphinx,
I don't know who you are, but you'll be sorry.
okay, they arrive in the village where we meet Alibaba's partner and one of Tezuka's famous villains, Snidely. Boy, isn't that a name you can just trust?
Where's that little robot?
Upstairs.
Very good. I wonder if he suspects that we crept into his bedroom while he was sound asleep, drained away 90% of his power, and then flew him here overnight on a fast jet airplane.
Wait, what?
Very good. I wonder if he suspects that we crept into his bedroom while he was sound asleep, drained away 90% of his power, and then flew him here overnight on a fast jet airplane.
You're telling me you just sneaked into Astro Boy's home and just stole him? I think the Ministry of Science should have put better security at their house considering how important he is. Where were you on that, Dr. Elephant?
He's all mixed up.
Anyway, Snidely informs that they are going to discover the tomb of an ancient king, and Astro Boy has to help in order to repay his debt, like deal with the Sphinx that guards the tomb. So, Snidely, Astro Boy, and Alibaba prepare to travel, along with his merry band of cutthroats.
I know those two words don't go together, but Tezuka found a way.
So along the way to the tomb, they face some trials, such as booby traps and robotic crabmen. And no, I'm not kidding. Till they finally arrived at the tomb, and it turns out it's actually a laboratory of secret technology, along with the scientist, Dr. Icy Snow.
Oh my god, these names!
But in a cryogenic pod. But they are suddenly attacked by the Sphinx again.
Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush.
After more funny battles, Astro Boy defeats her. But the Sphinx tells him that she is just protecting Snow and his machines. She is proven more correct as Alibaba and his men start stealing the machines for their own use. So, Astro Boy tries to stop Snidely and the others, but doesn't stand a chance with low power. So he uses one of Snow's power chargers to charge up and take them all out. Astro Boy then helps the Sphinx recover and apologizes for what he's done. So after that, the Sphinx continues guarding Dr. Snow's work, and Astro Boy flies home to prepare for another adventure.
Now before I wrap this up, I need to talk about one more thing that would have originally come before the episode reviews, but I decided to make it last for a special reason. And that is the animation. Because let me tell you, looking back from present to past animation is weird. But in a good way.
The animation Tezuka used was actually limited so they would focus more on story. Though sadly, it could be considered dated, as there are moments that seem poorly put together, and using some same cells or animation over again. I guess that's one trope of anime that will never die. But there are some scenes with impressive visuals and fluid animation given the limited technology. And it is still amazing how they were able to accomplish this with a small budget since the studio was still developing.
But another way to look at this is go from past to present. And all I gotta say is, it's amazing.
It is impressive to see how far animation has progressed in 55 years. With different animation studios with art styles to different styles of animation from hand-drawn to computer animated. And is progressing into a worldwide phenomenon as some studios at other parts of the world are giving anime-style animation a shot in their cartoons. And from all of this stemming from one anime is definitely a defining point in anime history. It can be a great example of evolving throughout the years, whether it be for better or worse, it is still a great learning experience. Astro Boy has provided entertainment, knowledge, and a starting point for more adventures to start and move forward.
But of course, this is only a small part of the Astro Boy saga, and I've got a lot to talk about.